Hello, I am Xarkun and this is World of Warships Legends. Today we're going to be talking about the grand old lady herself, HMS Warspite, or as you can see here, HMS Warspite B, back in black. The lady is in mourning or something, I don't know. She shouldn't be in mourning though because she is going to do a number on these enemy ships out here. So, as you can see, I'm in a division, which is a rare enough thing for me, with the Spotted Gecko, who is also a community contributor, and some other guy whose name I don't remember. The way this came about was Gecko was streaming, I think this past Saturday or Sunday, and I tuned into his stream, noticed he was doing some divisions with his subscribers, and so I divisioned with him for a game, and this is the result of that game. Now, as you can see there, the Dallas is feeling a little bit sore after having 18,000 of his hit points removed by the Warspite's excellent 15-inch guns. Now, the Warspite, I think, is one of the best, if not the best, battleships at Tier 5. There are hardly any ships in this game which can beat the consistency of these guns. And as such, I think that makes an excellent and reliable ship out of this particular battleship. You can see there that we smack that Tennessee pretty good as well. And he returns fire at us, but his accuracy leaves a little bit to be desired, so we're able to get away with it, despite sort of pulling out broadside in front of him. We've got an enemy Mayhan about 5 kilometers away from us, closing in. We can see he's launched torpedoes that were spotted as soon as they were launched, thanks to the Fun Police hovering above his head, and just as he peeks around the island there, we smack him for nearly 4,000 of his hit points, and he gets taken out by Spotted Gecko in his California. So right off the bat, that is one cruiser and one destroyer down, just as a friendly blue cruiser sinks himself. And I think the friendly ship sinking and the enemy ship sinking will come into play a little bit later in this game, as far as things not going as smoothly as they otherwise might. I don't know if that's too much of a spoiler or not. But about the Warspite itself, back to that. Why is this ship so great? I've already touched on it a little bit in the sense that its guns are very consistent and very accurate. They may be among the most consistent and accurate battleship guns in the entire game. This thing basically just fires laser-guided shells that always seem to find their way into the citadels of enemy ships, especially enemy cruisers. The Warspite is a certified cruiser killer. It is capable of dev-striking cruisers and doing a number to enemy battleships, and that is in part because of the tier placement. The Warspite with 15-inch guns is perfectly capable of overmatching all of the armor of all of the ships, all of the battleships anyway, that it is likely to face between Tier 4, Tier 5, and even Tier 6. So there's that. Having that overmatch power is something that a lot of battleships, or at least a few of them at Tier 5 with 15-inch guns, are able to enjoy. But the Warspite, being more accurate and more consistent than the rest of them, I think the Warspite is able to enjoy that just a little bit more. Plus, the Warspite is a little different when it comes to British battleships. Typically, the British battleships come with shorter fused, armor-piercing shells, which means after the shells penetrate a layer of armor and the fuse is armed so that the shell detonates, well, the time it takes for the detonation to occur after the arming is, of course, shorter on short-fused armor piercing. The Warspite does not have short-fused armor piercing, as far as I know, in comparison to the Tier 5 Tech Tree British battleship Queen Elizabeth, which does. Nevertheless, it's still quite good at dealing with enemy cruisers Enter the Belfast, sailing broadside in front of us 11 kilometers away, going behind an island. The shot is out. The shells are clinging close together. They look accurate, and they're accurate enough to dev strike that Belfast, taking him out for our first kill of the game. And you can see we fired, what, 3 salvos maybe? Maybe 4. I suppose we shot at the enemy destroyer. And we're up to 77,000 damage done, and barely 5 minutes has elapsed in the game. This, I think, is a pretty high amount of damage to have so early on in a Tier 5 battle, and I think that right there speaks to the consistency of the Warspite. And basically, all that adds up together into a very attractive package that, frankly, if you don't have it, and you do like to play ranked in battleships especially, well, the Warspite, I think, is going to serve you well should another Tier 5 ranked season ever come up. But, as you can see, the game has sort of gotten away from us a little bit. We have 5 ships left floating on our team. Our team, wow. I don't know how I ended up flubbing that word and pronouncing it so strangely. But there are 4 ships left alive on the enemy team, one of which is the Dallas. We're going to shoot at him. This is a second Dallas, different from the one we smacked earlier on in the game. And it looks like even though we led our shots decently well, he turns out and he is able to avoid the shots. Of the 4 remaining enemy ships, 3 of them are directly in front of me. The last is the aircraft carrier floating around somewhere to, I suppose, the northeast of the enemy base. So we're going to park here right now as our teammates push in to the Gneisenau, the Fuso, and I think there's another ship. We get tagged on the stern by one of the airdrop torpedoes from the CV. It causes a flood, and we're forced to use our damage control just as Spotted Gecko goes down, making it 4 versus 4. And the enemy aircraft carrier is able to turn around, launch torpedoes at us again. We turn into his torpedoes, and we manage to hit one before it arms, so it ends up doing no damage to us. Try number 2 on the Dallas, again, who appears to be in the middle of a turn as we release the salvo. We try to account for that, and this time we actually get a little bit of wonky dispersion, or so I thought. Never mind, we're able to take the Dallas down to within just an inch of his life, and we've passed the 100,000 damage done threshold, just as another enemy, or friendly ship rather, has gone down, the friendly cruiser, who was divisioned with me and Gecko. That just leaves 3 versus 4, and things are getting a little bit sticky. So we want to talk about how to finish up a game that is like this. So this is a capture the base mode game rather than a domination mode game, and in these, sinking ships does carry a little bit more weight than it does in, say, a domination mode game, where in those games you have multiple cap circles, you can take them, and you can accrue points from them. Whereas in a capture the base mode game, there's only one base, and if the enemy team were to get on to the base, then they would stop our accrual of points. So what we need to do here is A, survive, and we're sort of caught in a crossfire between the Azerlane Fuso and the Gneisenau, who is driving toward us. Now we want to take the Fuso out so that our options for maneuvering become a little bit more open. We don't want to have to try to angle against both the Fuso and the Gneisenau. We need one of these guys to go down. The Fuso is on very low health. We hit him there, and our friendly aircraft carrier helps us by finishing him off. Now we only have to deal with the Gneisenau. A little bit of target selection in there. If you're caught between 2 battleships like that, you definitely want to try to take out the one that is easiest to take out. So that way, again, your maneuverability options become a little bit more open. Since we don't have to worry about angling against the Fuso, now we can angle against the Gneisenau, who has launched torpedoes at us from a distance. We're sailing away from him, and when you get German battleships like this, those with torpedoes, Gneisenau, Scharnhorst, Brandenburg, Odin, Tirpitz, all of them, What they want to do is push into you so they can launch their torpedoes and do a crap ton of damage to you. What you want to do is not allow them to push into you. You don't want to push into them as they're pushing into you. That's just going to make it easier for them to torpedo you. Instead, you want to kite away from them, as we're doing here, because it's going to be a lot more difficult for them to get their torpedoes on you if you're sailing away. And you see there that 7K hit against the Gneisenau's nose. Again, having 15-inch guns at this tier is wonderful. Even the Gneisenau, being a tier 6 battleship, has a 25 or 26 millimeter plating on its nose. I think it's got an icebreaker. Maybe it doesn't. Either way, the Warspite can overmatch that plating. And there we actually run into an island, which is something of a syndrome I seem to be afflicted with lately. I always seem to catch islands that I don't realize are there. In any case, the Gneisenau is the only ship left alive, and we're going to be able to hopefully take him out before the game ends here. The enemy CV was dispatched by somebody, and in fact, the friendly CV ends up taking out the Gneisenau. So, just doing what we needed to do there as far as surviving and selecting our targets appropriately at the end of the game, we're able to help our team carry it to victory with 146,000 damage done to our name. So, there is a look at the Warspite for you. Hope you enjoyed this video. If so, give it a thumbs up. Consider subscribing if you haven't already, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye.